Hi, and welcome to a new unit for biology. If you'll remember from our last unit, we talked about living things being organized and having organization. And we're going to open this unit talking a little bit about levels of organization. And this is all pretty obvious to you, I'm sure, but some of these terms may be new. So this is just an overview here of different levels of organization. And we can either start here at the overall level, where we're pulling way back and looking out, and then as we get closer and closer in, we can get down to the very small levels, the molecules, or we can go the other direction. So we're going to start actually with the biosphere. And you all probably know from previous science that the biosphere is where all life on Earth exists, places where life exists on Earth, and that's the biosphere. And as we go down, we look at ecosystems, communities, populations, organisms, organs, tissues, cells, organelles, and molecules. And we'll just take a look at each one of these individually and see if we can get a grasp on how they all fit together. So if we start at the basic, the molecules, you probably know from science also that molecules are made up of atoms. And we get molecules like protein molecules or lipid molecules. Right here, those are different lipid molecules made up of many different atoms. Here are nucleotide bases. Those are molecules that make up DNA. When we put those molecules together, we see that we get organelles, which are functional components in a cell. And here, actually, this would be an organelle. This would be a lipid bilayer, which is part of a membrane in a cell. Here are some different organelles within a cell. And we'll learn a lot more about those different organelles later. But it takes molecules to make up organelles. Molecules, the definition would be just a chemical structure that has at least two atoms. These molecules that I've mentioned here have many atoms, hundreds of atoms sometimes, but many more than two. So when we have organelles and a collection of those make up the cell. Okay, so a cell is life's fundamental unit of function. That is the basic unit of structural unit when we talk about biology and we talk about life. And here are some just different examples of cells. Here's some white blood cells. Here are cells in a plant. Here is a single bacterial cell. And when we have a collection of cells coming together, they form a tissue. The definition is that is a group of cells that work together, a tissue. Here is some tissue that is making up the organ of the ear. So a group of tissues together will give us an organ, and here we have an ear. An organ consists of multiple tissues. Here are some other organs, an eye, a leaf, skin. They are multiple tissues working together. So when we have an organ, let's say an ear, an organ consists of multiple tissues. We can then combine different organs and we see an organism. An organism is an individual living thing, like this little pica right here. That is an organism. This earthworm is an organism. We have a pufferfish that's an organism, a gorilla that's an organism. When we have individuals of a single species living in an area, so we have organisms of a particular species, we call that a population. Here we have a population of picas, a population of fish, a particular species of fish, a population of a species of flamingo. So that's what a population is. And when we take these populations and we put different populations together, or we have an array of organisms inhabiting an ecosystem, we end up seeing a community. So here is a community. It's an array of organisms that inhabit a particular ecosystem. Here is another. And also it's important to note that it's not just the animals, but there are many organisms here as well. There are organisms from plant kingdom and other kingdoms as well that may or may not be visible. So an ecosystem is the components of the environment with which life interacts. So if we look, here is an ecosystem. The soil, the water, the sunlight, all of the components of the environment that go into this area to support life and interact with life, that is the ecosystem. And then finally, the biosphere, all life on Earth and all places where life exists. So when we look at the different levels of organization, it's important also to remember that these levels of organization have emergent properties. So when we look at individual molecules, for example, those have certain properties. When they combine to form organelles, however, we have new and different properties that emerge. Cells will have new and different properties that emerge as well from this level of organization. Each level of organization gives us new properties, and hopefully you can have fun looking at some of these. I did not give a suggestion for getting a 4 on this for objectives. I'd like you to just be really creative. There is a lot that you can dig deeper and research more information and learn new things and show me what you learned. So I'm excited to see what you know. We'll see you in class.